Welcome to We in Lewes, a podcast dedicated to celebrating the remarkable, creative, and energetic people who live in Lewes and are helping our community forge a collective soul as appealing as it is unique. These are their stories in their words. They are the we in Lewes. I'm Kevin McGinnis. We're very excited that our guest today is Leanne Wilkinson. In the official English language dictionary of Lewes, if you look up the word realtor, there's a picture of Leanne. If you look up the word entrepreneur, there's a picture of Leanne. If you look up the word philanthropist, there's a picture of Leanne. She's the #1 realtor in Sussex County and Lewes, and her company is ranked #2 nationally for the entire Berkshire Hathaway Home Services real estate network. She's also an enthusiastic supporter of almost every known charity or community project in our town. To name a few, Lewes in Bloom, the History Book Festival, even down to this podcast. Our sponsor today is John Gordon. John and his team at Coastal Lawn and Landscaping are true professionals with the knowledge and experience necessary to handle any property need you may have. Lawn care, irrigation systems, hardscaping, planting. It's all in their wheelhouse. Now's the time to get ready for spring, so give them a call at 302-827-2585 or reach out via their website, www.coastallandscapingde.com. Leanne, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks so much for coming.
And can I say I love John Gordon and Coastal Lawn and Landscaping. We use them all the time and refer them all the time.
Tremendous. I think he would like that.
Yes.
He would like for you to say that. How does a realty company in Lewes, Delaware, which has a population of a roughly 3,873, I believe because Millie the retriever just had puppies, rank higher than real estate companies with staffs in the thousands and markets like New York City and LA?
I've wondered that myself, but it's probably a lot to do with the fact that I've been doing this a long time, and prior to me, my parents were doing it, and it's a small town, and if you do a good job, people just keep coming back to you. And so I think it starts with my mom and dad, and just that they always just did such a great job. They taught me how to do a great job, and I've got, a really great staff and team now that, we just can compete with anybody pretty much, actually. California, Florida, Vegas, New York, the whole country.
It's remarkable, especially given the fact that if you sell an apartment in New York City, one apartment can be $35 million right there.
It's crazy. I was looking at real estate just because it comes up on my Instagram thing, and I was like, oh, this is a nice townhouse. Maybe my daughter could buy this. It was $7 million.
How big is your company?
The Leanne Wilkinson Group. Okay. We have, I think, 21 of us right now. And we have one intern who is just really a great kid who just graduated from Cape and is going to Del Tech. And so I think he's our 22.
Can you take us through the process involved in the sale of a home from your side, not from the consumer side, which many of us know, but we all know for you, like those who are buying or selling, it's not a simple process.
It's definitely not simple anymore. It starts out with, meeting the seller and taking a look at their house, trying to figure out what it's really worth and getting it to that number that's the exact number that's going to get a lot of activity and also get it sold. What else they have to do to it. When I started, the word stager was not in the vocabulary. And now it's almost everybody has to have a stager. Not everybody, but, there's a few people out there, I could name them now, that if you walked into their house right now, you could take the pictures. But most people need some sort of help with getting their house ready. So it starts with the staging, then it goes to the photography. We have and obviously you have to get the right price. That's really important. And that's what sellers are most interested in, what you're going to charge them and how much they're going to get for their house and what they're going to have at the end when they get ready to close and what they can do with that money afterwards. So once you figure all that out, you get the photographer in there. We have 2 in-house photographers. One is Erin Stassi, and she's been around in our group for probably 10 years. 8 years. And my daughter Taylor. So those 2 take, I would say, as good a pictures as anybody that hires a third party to do it. Every now and then we have a guy named Rob Waters. If we want a video of, say, a beachfront house or something like that, we'll hire Rob. He'll do all the video. He'll also do the still pictures as well. Erin's able to use the drone and has been for years, and she does all her drone pictures. So photographs are really, really important. And so because everybody starts to look for their house online, mostly on Zillow or realtor.com. There's a new, there's going to be a new there is a new website now that we hope is going to surpass both of those. It's going to be called homes.com, or it is homes.com. They had a couple commercials on the Super Bowl the other night. I didn't quite understand them, but I didn't quite understand half the commercials. But and there was a lot of people talking during the commercials where I was. But homes.com is we're hoping is really going to take over that market of the buyer searching for a home. The description of the house is really important. So that's the next thing you have to do. So once you get all that done, you get it on the MLS, which is the multiple listing service, which not everybody, but most people want their house on the MLS. That means anybody from Lewes, Rehoboth, Milton, Millsboro, Dover, even Wilmington, now even into Pennsylvania, Virginia, can see your house, because people have cousins, friends, relatives themselves that want a beach house or a second home, or they want to retire here. It's really opened up the possible realtor that might sell the person's house. I would say 10 years ago, those people had to refer, those agents from outside of Sussex County would have to refer their buyer to us or to an agent here in order to sell them a house. They don't have to do that anymore. Now they can come to us. They just have to use the Delaware contract, and it's really made things I think it was a very bad decision on our board's they thought about this, I guess, 10 years ago, thinking it was going to be in the seller's best interest. I personally never agreed with that and thought it was a silly idea, because we get these agents who come here, they bring their lenders, their home inspectors from Pennsylvania, they don't know the market. The appraisers, they get an appraiser from somewhere else, doesn't know the market. It causes a lot more work. And this is all stuff that the seller has no idea is going on. And the buyer really has no idea what's going on unless you're really explaining it to them and they're actually listening to you. And most of the time, people just put their trust in you, and they don't necessarily really quite understand everything that they're doing. And they can be spending $5 million and still not quite understanding what they're doing, because this isn't what they do for a living. And so it's really it's complicated, and it's gotten more and more complicated with the contracts and the contingencies and the inspections and just all kinds of things like that. So,
how would you describe your style of negotiation?
I make sure that I have all the information. I tell everybody that's probably my best quality as a realtor, or my best skill, or whatever you want to call it. I usually can make the two parties feel like they both got what they wanted. And I think most of that comes with really knowing the market and knowing what the house is worth, and finding out what the seller wants and what the buyer wants, and making sure that they both feel like they got what they wanted.
I know from personal experience that you can be very, at least with us, matter of fact when talking with clients. A kind of no frills, here are the facts, folks.
Right.
There's no hard sell. I don't know if you just do that just for us, or it depends on who the buyer is.
No, I feel like most people really want you to give it to them straight. There are some people that want you to hear what they think from you. And I have a hard time doing that. Costs me listings sometimes. But I try to just look at the facts and give people that information so they can come to their own conclusion, really. But sometimes they don't want to look at the facts. They don't want to hear the facts. They want their house to be worth this, even though their next door neighbor's house sold for that. There's something more special about their place. So, it's not easy. And sometimes I have to, bend my own rules a little bit just to make things keep going, I guess.
Does your record of success give you a credibility that might not be available to others?
I think so. I mean, I think people, and not everybody, but I think the majority of the people will say, listen, we trust you. We know you're going to do what you're supposed to do for us. But a lot of my customers and clients are people that I've worked with before, many times. And so they knew what happened the last time. They expect it to happen this time. And I think most people trust me. Not everybody, though, because there's people here who don't know me at all. They roll into town. They have no idea who I am. And I might end up talking to them. And, I have to earn the trust at that point. I can't go, oh, but, this, and this, well, this is me. So you just need to trust me. No, I have to earn it still.
There's a presumption that it's not hard to sell a house here, that there's so much interest. It's not really that big a deal. But in reality, there's a buyer with his or her expectations. There's a seller with his or her expectations. And in some parts of Lewes, there's a third party, the city or a city committee. How hard is it?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a lot of interest in owning real estate in Lewes from people that already live here, from people that have vacationed here, from people that have second homes here and maybe want to move here full time now, and from people that have just never been here, and the reason they're coming is their friend has a place here, they heard that the taxes are low, and they just decide to just drive south and they end up here. So there are a lot of buyers, but there's still a lot that goes into it, and things can get complicated, like you said, with the city. They have a lot. If you're in the historic district, or even if you're on the beach side of town, you have these different rules that you have to go by, and you have to make sure that the buyer understands and is aware of this. And so when they get ready to do something on their house, they're not calling you and saying, "Why didn't you tell me this?" And I've had that happen. I had somebody building a house over on the beach, and they said to me, well, we're going to just live in this place for this summer, and next year we're going to knock it down and build our house. And one day about, I don't know, I guess they probably closed in maybe September, and one day in like January, I'm riding by and the house is no longer there. And I'm like, wait, I call up, what I thought you were using this next summer and then you were going to build your house. No. Well, they didn't know about that extra transfer tax. And it was a big surprise to them. And had they, for building within 1 year of buying the property, if you hold your property for 1 year and you build, you get away with not paying, I think, 1.5% to 2% transfer tax to the city. And they did not know that. And I felt, they're past clients of mine, they had bought 3 houses from me. And I remember just riding by there and going, oh my gosh, I wonder, do they know that? Because I did not tell them that. And because I didn't think I needed to. But that's just one little thing that sticks in my mind. And that was probably 5 years ago. So I try to be really super careful and cover all the bases and make sure that they know what they're in for.
Now, do you have a list like some other realtors do there in your desk drawer of buyers ready to buy when a house comes up in certain areas?
We do. We have definite lists for certain places, obviously beachfront homes in Lewes, anything in the historic district, units at Pilot Point. If you could get one of those for sale, you'd really probably have a line waiting to get one of those. And but it's made it a lot easier for us now. We have these, and I'm not a technical person at all. I luckily have a lot of people in the office that help me with that. But we have any buyer set up on an auto, basically an auto email from the MLS that no matter who lists something that's like what they're looking for, they immediately get it. As soon as it goes active, they get it. So that helps me. But then I have this other little side list for things that I may be listing that I'm not putting in the MLS, or at least not putting in the MLS right away. And that can get me into trouble a little bit too, because somebody's like, wait a minute, I thought I was on that list, but wait, were you really serious? Okay, we'll get you on that list, But yeah, we have the list. There's a lot of people out there that want specific things.
My wife, Kath, and I have good friends who work with you and told you what they were looking for, where, and it was only like a 3-block area, and a price range. And you found them a place. Does this happen often?
It does. I mean, especially during COVID, actually, this happened even more for some reason. We were able to go to a listing appointment and say, oh, you want to sell this house? We have 3 or 4 buyers. You won't even have to put it on the market. And we would sell it that way. That happened a lot during COVID. But it's going back to more normal now, where you end up most of the time putting the house on the market and getting everybody's eyes on it.
When your name is the name of the company, no matter the size, there's an expectation that you'll be directly involved. Obviously, you can't be everywhere. How do you balance this expectation with reality?
Well, I work a lot. And so I truly do not want to be involved in every single transaction, but I would venture to say I'm involved in 75% of everything that happens. When I am not involved at all, and I, meet the people at the closing, and it's usually buyers. Sellers, I meet all the sellers pretty much, but the buyers, sometimes I don't meet them. They call in, they email in, they get one of the agents at the team, which all of them are very good, and they were able to find them a house and get it to closing without any problem, and I get to just meet them at the closing table. That's unusual, but I like it because it means everybody's doing a great job and everybody's happy. Usually I get involved when there's a problem. When there's one of the agents working with somebody, if there's a problem, that's when I get involved. If there's no problem, then I just see them at closing and everybody's happy. And I would say, yeah, there's a lot of problems. A lot.
Your work ethic is legendary. There's a quote that I believe is attributed to Michael Jordan.
Oh, boy.
Which goes, a lot of people want to be me, but they don't want to work like me. Do you take days off?
I try really hard now to not go to the office on Sunday. But if I have to go to the office on Sunday, I'm going to the office on Sunday. But I do try, especially this time of the year, I can do it. My daughter Taylor has 3 kids now, and I really like to spend some time on Sundays with them. And I'm working. If I'm not in the office, I'm still probably working at least some point of Sunday. But I work Monday through Saturday for sure at the office every week, unless I'm on vacation.
And what time does your day start?
As soon as I get home from the gym, which is about 7 o'clock.
But when do you get to the gym?
5:45.
John Gordon tells a story about always being impressed because he works out religiously, as you know, and he's a former serious athlete. And he would get there and he goes, she's always there first. I don't know how she does it.
If I don't do it in the morning, then I don't ever do it. So I have to.
For anyone who's started a business and seen it grow, it can be daunting when you realize that every day there's a large number of people who rely on you to wake up, get out of bed, get going, and succeed. How do you handle this responsibility?
I don't know. I mean, I just take it I guess I just take it pretty seriously that people are definitely depending on me and expect certain things from me, and it's really important to me to just do it right and to just do it. Of course I get frustrated like anybody else, I wish I could say that I didn't. But usually I would say Monday mornings are probably the worst, that everyone that has thought about anything over the weekend will be calling me. And Monday mornings go into all the way to 5 o'clock on Monday. And if you're a new person calling me on Monday, and I'm not calling you back till after 5 for sure, just because I can't, because everything that has to happen, that they thought about on the weekend. So, yeah, I don't know. I just do it. And I just...
Does your staff wait till Monday to come to you with issues?
No. No. We deal with stuff all weekend too, but I'm just saying, like, wait, I think we do want to do this. They call on Monday morning. It's I think that's in everybody's business. And Friday between noon and 5, I mean, you can be sure that everybody's going to try to get things wrapped up before they have their weekend. So, yeah, those are the 2 busiest times of the week.
Do you have your own appraiser, your own lawyers? Do you have sort of set groups that work with you?
We definitely have used an attorney. I have used the same attorney now for at least 35 years, I would say, and that's Bill Schaub, and I love him. It's a love-hate relationship because he drives me crazy, but I love him. And I always say, the times that I was wrong, I didn't listen to Bill Schaub. This is personally myself. We don't agree on things a lot, and a couple of times I should have listened to him, and I didn't. And I'm still saying, and when other people say, well, I don't like, and I'm like, you should just listen to him, because the times I didn't, I wish now that I did. So he's excellent. He's, been around longer than I have even, I think. And he does, he's been in Hawaii for a month, which I love that he gets to go to his house in Hawaii for a month. But I probably have talked to him every other day while he was there. So when he gets up, I usually, it's like 12, 1 o'clock here. We usually have a chat every other day or so on something that's happening that I need his help with. So yes, definitely Bill Schaub. And he has a whole staff, and all of his people are excellent. And Tim Willard he's partners with him. Mm-hmm. And Norman, his old partner, who I used to be able to call all the time, is retired. But yeah, those people really take care of me and my clients. And then we have Chris Corelli, who is my favorite mortgage person. I mean, this guy, he's just amazing. And he's local, lives in downtown Lewes, and will do anything, and is just so smart and is able to get the job done, I say 99.9% of the time. If he says he's going to get it done, it's going to get done. So he's my favorite that way. And then I have a couple of appraisers who I love, but we don't get to choose appraisers when people are getting a mortgage from any kind of lending institution. The appraiser gets chosen, and you have no idea who it's going to be, which is one of the tough things about selling houses now. But if I had to choose an appraiser, which I do get to do, like if somebody's in a state or something like that, I use Carol Levitsky. I love her for estate appraisals. Ernie Blazer and Eric. I always want to call him Eric Espada, but I always want to call him Eric, the actor that has the same name.
Estrada.
Yeah, it's Espada. But last week I said Estrada to somebody, or I wrote Estrada. But anyway, those 3 are excellent. And I'm sure there's other good appraisers, but those are the ones I go to.
You grew up in Lewes?
Not really. I moved here when I was 12.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But your parents were, as you mentioned before, working in the real estate industry.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Was it a given that you would follow in their footsteps?
No. I majored in art, and I had an art degree when I got out of college, and I didn't have a job, and I was working at the lighthouse, which was called Fisherman's Wharf at the time. And I did the early morning shift so I could go get home and have the rest of the day. So I would arrive at 4 o'clock in the morning, and the fishermen would come in, and they had the best breakfast there for $1. And they had the sticky buns that were just amazing that they made in the kitchen. But anyway, I worked there, and I would get home, around 11, 12, 1, something like that from the morning breakfast and lunch shift. And my dad was like, "You cannot be a waitress." And I was like, "What do you mean?" "It's fine." I was walking out of there with like a good amount of money, and I was happy. But no, he said, "You can't be a waitress. You've got to come work for us." So that's how I ended up working for them. They had a little real estate office. It was just my mom and dad. And I walked in the first day, and my mom gave me a one of those big books that you did when you took bookkeeping class in high school, which I never took. And it had all the little lines and whatever. And she says, "You're our rental agent." And she handed me the thing and said, "This is," and she really got mad at me because I had no clue how to do that stuff in that book. I mean, she was really mad. She could not understand how I could not know how to do that. And I had to learn how to do that. And I guess that was something, if you were a female, that's what you took in high school. I never took that, and I never took it in college, so I didn't know how to do it. But I became their rental agent, and then it was easy because it was just easy for me. Like I like people like me usually, and finding them the right house to rent even was just great. And that's where a lot of my business started. Was my landlords became my clients, my tenants became my clients, and I did rentals probably and sales. I went into sales pretty quickly after that. But I did rentals and sales probably for the first 10 years. And nobody did that. Everybody just did either rentals or they did sales. But I always just did both.
Did that really give you a good sort of exposure to the business?
Oh, yeah.
You learned all the nuts and bolts.
I tell everybody, people come to work, everybody wants to work for me, right? Because for some reason they think it's going to be easy. And I always tell them, like, no, I'm a hard person to work for. So you probably, I'm not out to hire a bunch of new agents because I'm not trying to make my team any bigger. I want quality versus quantity. And so when people come and want to work for me, it's very rare that we bring a new person on in the sales department. We do bring some new staff on because we need that. But sales people, I've mostly have all been with me for a very long time. So I tell them, if you really want to learn this business and you really want to get into it and you want to start from the bottom up, go work in the rental department. They always need people. Get in to do the rentals first. And a lot of people don't want to do that. But it's a good way to do it because it's money quickly, not like sales. I mean, you literally could go to work and within 2 or 3 weeks be making some money. In sales, it's probably 3 or 4 months before you see anything happen. So,
is it true that your first sales job was selling T-shirts on Lewes Beach?
No. My first sales job was selling T-shirts and bathing suits and cover-ups in Rehoboth, on Rehoboth Avenue for you guys probably won't know these people, but the Dayons. They were a New York family who had the T-shirt factory, and then they opened up a bathing suit shop, and then it became California Sunshine, which was probably, and still probably is, I think it's still there, the biggest bathing suit shop in Rehoboth. So I worked for California Sunshine and the T-shirt factory, and that's when that's honest to God, when I knew, like, I can sell anything because I could sell a lot of bathing suits. I sold more bathing suits than anybody. I mean, I wouldn't let them out of the dressing room. I just kept bringing them more bathing suits. And then I would say, and you need this cover up to go with it. I mean, I was always like the top salesperson there. They loved me.
For some reason, that's not a shock.
But I loved bathing suits. I still do. I want to design bathing suits someday if I ever retire. That's probably, that's what I'd love to do.
We first met when my wife, Kath, and I were trying to buy a house. And I saw you as Leanne, the realtor. And you were very professional, as I said, very matter of fact. And you said, here are the facts. Then you started talking to Kath about your daughters. And it was clear, and I realized for the first time, like, oh, wow, she's also a mom, and she's juggling a business while raising 4 girls. Because your whole face changed when you started talking about your daughters. And it was so sweet. How did you balance building such a large, effective, successful business and raising 4 teenage girls?
Well, 3 of them work for me. And the youngest one was literally days old when she actually, I had to take her with me because as soon as I got home from the hospital, I had to keep on working because at that point my business was really going. So I just would throw them in the car with me, take them on showings, take them on listing appointments. I almost never had anybody complain about that. I mean, there were a couple people that didn't like it. I can count them on one hand, but and yeah, distinctly remember a couple people saying, "Don't bring your children the next time." And I'd be, okay, all right, I'll have to find somebody to watch them. But they just came with me. And I had a grandmother who was living with my parents at the time, which was next door to where I lived. And she lived to be 98 years old. And she took care of my two youngest ones a lot. I did have a lot of help. And I had two aunts actually on my husband's side who are both still alive. One is 100 and the other one's 94. And they really helped me with the kids as well. If I didn't have those, my mother was working in the real estate business, so she wasn't able to help me in the day at all. So it was those two aunts, Aunt Rose and Aunt Pat. And Rose, just FYI, was the owner of Jack's Market over on Lewes Beach. And if you ever talk to anybody that's really from Lewes Beach, they'll tell you about Jack's Market. It was on the corner of Massachusetts and Market Street. So anyway, yeah, so they helped me a lot. I couldn't have done it without them.
Were there times when you sort of had to rush from a closing or a showing of a house and get over to do something at school?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to be involved in the school as much as I could. I mean, I certainly wasn't a PTO president or anything like that, but I was involved and I did go to, I mean, things weren't as crazy as they are now when my kids were growing up. I mean, this place wasn't like it is now where everybody and anybody, wants to come here. It was much different. So there was much more time available when my kids were little. And yeah, so I did stuff at school. My kids all played sports. I never went to the away games. Never, I have to say. I was not the parent who went to the away games. Never went to the away swim meets. I only went to the ones that were here because I couldn't. And once cell phones, came around and you could talk on the phone, you could at least be at the game and also do other stuff. But yeah, all my kids played multiple sports. So
you're also involved in other companies, including a restaurant here in town.
Kind of. Kind of. I helped my son-in-law and an old friend that I worked with at California Sunshine, get the business from the lady who owned Jerry's Seafood, and they took it from there. I'm not really involved except for I'm a customer, and I like to go there.
It's hard to find a local group or a charity that you don't support, or in some cases, underwrite. I can appreciate the business value of being involved in the community, but given the amount and scope of your involvement, your support, it signals something different. What is it?
Well, I think things like the History Book Festival, the Farmers Market, the Historical Society, and Lewis and Bloom, I think just those are some of the reasons why people love it here so much. And I think it's important to make sure that they can keep going. So, because I don't know. I think it's a big part of the town and why people love it here and why I love it here. So.
What's your favorite thing to do in Lewes when you can break away?
Go to the beach.
Go to the beach. Do you go to Lewes Beach or Cape Henlopen?
I'm just as happy at Lewes Beach, but I like to go to the state park as well. So whatever I have enough time for. If I don't have a lot of time and I just want to go for a couple of hours, I'll just go to Lewes Beach. But I love the state park, of course.
Given that you're an early riser, 5 a.m., which do you like better in Lewes, sunrise or sunset?
I don't get to see the sunset very often because I'm usually still working, but I do love the sunset. I have a house at Cape Shores, and probably that's my favorite thing, is to try to go over there when there's nobody there renting it and see the sunset, which It's great. But I'm definitely a morning person, so I'm happy to be up for the sunrise.
You mentioned you have 4 grandchildren now.
Mm-hmm.
You like to spend time with them. You've worked very hard your whole life, your whole business life. Well, and before that, have you thought about slowing things down or changing the pace at which you currently work?
I don't see that happening for me, because people always say, well, why don't you just slow down? Why don't you just do this? But people really expect, my name's on that door, and people expect me to show up. And so I don't know how I'm going to, I have one daughter, Lucy, who actually is interested in sales. The other 2 daughters do not do any sales or listings. They work support staff type stuff, photography, whatever. But Lucy is, I'd say she's a pretty good salesperson. And so she could potentially be able to take over more things. I know that when my parents would say, I can't come, but I'm sending my daughter, that always made the customer feel okay. I can now say, I can't come, I'm going to send Lucy. And it just happened recently with a really great clients of mine that live over on the beach that are building a new house in Old Town. I was like, listen, I can't do that because I'm already committed, but I'm going to send Lucy. And of course they love her, and she's doing a great job. So hopefully that would be my somewhat slowing down strategy, is to get her doing more of that stuff.
So Leanne, the swimsuit designer, is not on the immediate horizon.
Probably not. But I really want to do that someday.
Your parents' real estate company was called Gallo.
Mm-hmm.
When did the transfer from Gallo to the Leanne Wilkinson group, when did that happen?
Okay, so it never really, I just am a group within the company. So I was always working for, it started out as Gallo Realty. My parents got a Prudential franchise. They were, I think there was a Coldwell Banker franchise here before, but they got the Prudential franchise when Prudential got into real estate, which was probably 25 years ago. And then Prudential got bought by Berkshire Hathaway, the real estate part of it. And so we had a choice to go back to Gallo Realty or to go with Berkshire Hathaway. And we decided Berkshire Hathaway was like an amazing name to be associated with. And so we decided to go ahead. And I will say they do a much better job with real estate than Prudential did. Prudential should have just stuck with insurance probably. But no, Berkshire Hathaway is a great company. And then I started my own group when I had too much business for just myself to do it. So I got my first assistant, and she was a friend. She had kids that were friends with my kids, and they were little at the time. And I guess her husband was probably friends with my first husband. And she came to work for me, and that's really and truly, it was going with Prudential that got me to be able to think about having a team. We went to the very first Prudential convention in Orlando, Florida, and that's where I met a woman named Gladys Blum. And she was from Oregon, and I forget the town in Oregon, but one of the ones that everybody knows about. She had a couple of her children working for her and a couple of other people, and she was like the number one realtor in Prudential real estate affiliates nationwide. And she was probably at the time in her mid-50s, I would guess, and I was much younger. And I just listened to everything she said, and I did everything that she said. And they would, at the end of the convention, they'd give you like a whole like a thing of like cassette tapes of every person that spoke, every panel, everything. And I would just listen to all of those. But she was the one I zeroed in on. And she was just, I don't know what she's doing these days. I need to find out because I know she's retired. But she was the best. And I just said, oh, I'm just going to do exactly what she says she does. I'm going to do it. And I did. And, things went crazy. And that's when I got my first assistant because I needed an assistant because I did what she was doing. And then, 2 assistants, 3 assistants, whatever. It just has gotten up to 20 something people. So,
Did you ever go to the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting?
I have not. The annual meeting where
Or Warren Buffett
no, I need to go to that.
From the Mount?
I keep thinking that they're going to have him at one of these conventions, but they never have. Even the first one, I thought, he'll come, right? He'll come to this first one when they're kicking off, Berkshire Hathaway being in real estate. But they just had him on the big screen talking, but no, I haven't met him. But I would love to. So I probably should put that on my list of things to do.
One final question. What is it about Lewes that makes it the perfect location for a successful business like yours?
It's just so, it's so close to other major cities that people can get to easily and for the weekend and for a couple of days. And I think that's probably it. I think it's just in that sweet spot where you've got DC and you've got, Pennsylvania and you've got Maryland and Virginia, and those people can all come here very easily, and they do.
Well, Leanne, thank you. Thanks for joining us today. I know you're not a big fan of podcasts. I know you're not.
I've just never listened to one.
Well, hopefully this will be an exception.
Maybe I'll listen. I've been wanting to listen to all the ones you did before this, so now I'm going to have to do it. But, yeah.
But again, thank you. Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome.
And thanks for sharing what's truly an amazing story, and for the remarkable team you've assembled and all that you've been doing. Simply put, we're lucky you still consider Lewes home. Our town would not be the same without you.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't want to leave. I love it here.
And thanks to today's sponsor, Coastal Lawn and Landscaping. They do an amazing job. Just ask one of their over 400 customers. In case you missed the link to their website, we'll be posting it on our website and hopefully via social media. Finally, thanks to you for listening and for your support. If I can be honest, with Sam, Brax, Dr. Chris, and now Leanne as guests, it's been an incredible start to the season. Have a great week, and until next time, this has been We in Lewes, the podcast.